The green flag has come out, and pretty quickly several cars went right out onto the racetrack. Now, just to refresh, this is the situation where we have 2 groups of 12. First group is out right now. Out of that group, they will take the top 6, the quickest top 6. Then they'll do the same thing with the second group, though that'll be a group of 13. And now they will have 6 out of that. That moves down and becomes the fast 12. Again, they take 6 out of that group, and that becomes the fast 6. And that tells you not only the front row, but who is going to be the pole sitter. Here in group number 1 will be Sebastian Bourdais, Will Power, Juan Montoya, Graham Rahal, Stefano Coletti, Sebastian Saavedra, who was last year's pole sitter here, Luca Felipe, Ryan Hunter-Ray, J.R. Hildebrand, James Hinchcliffe, Carlos Munoz, and Carlos Huertas. So already on the course, both Sebastian Bourdais and Will Power got out there very quickly, and of course they have been names that have throughout the practice been at the top of the speed chart, though there's a little bit difference right now, Mark Janes, in that we kind of have a high overcast, which is not something we've had through the practice sessions.
Yeah, a little bit of hazy sunshine, Paul, and we've been checking in with the weather prognosticators throughout the course of the afternoon, and so far it looks as though what weather, if any, we might get, at least for now, is content to stay to the western part of the state. It may pop up here and there a little bit, but for now, again, hazy sunshine, the order of the day. Much less sunshine, though, than we have seen. And Zach Veets is with us as a driver analyst for this session and throughout the course of the weekend. And, Zach, it's the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and it doesn't matter whether we're on the road course or on the oval. Certainly the atmosphere, especially the sunshine, has a tremendous effect on this race course.
For sure. This is a special weekend, special month for the month of May here in Indianapolis. But thing is, like you guys said, with the overcast coming in, the track temp is going to go down a little bit compared to where it was this morning when these guys were out finishing their last practice session before qualifying. So I think they're probably going to have to make a small few adjustments just to get used to the track, what it is now. But we'll see who's going to be quick in this first group moving on to be the part of the Fast 12.
There are 10 minutes in each of these group sessions. Right now, we're counting down to the 6th minute, so time goes quickly here. Let's go down to Greg. You've got Takuma Sato?
Yeah, Takuma Sato standing by. Takuma, how were the 45 minutes in the car for you this morning?
It was good. Also, we are in a tough field, so hopefully we can get into the top 10. That's the target. Love to go to the highest that's possible. Realistically, I think that's the target.
Being in Group B, what can you learn from watching this first 10-minute session?
Yeah, you can learn quite a few things in the track conditions and also the red tires, how it's reflected and how much go faster compared to the black tires, so it's always help.
Takuma, thanks for the time. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Paul?
Well, Mark Janes, when we look at this list, we remember we have 12 cars out there. You don't necessarily want to be the fastest, but you do want to be in that top 6.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we've talked about a couple of weeks ago at Barber Motorsports Park. The pressure, I think, is dialed up as you continue with this knockout qualifying format and you get to the final round of 12. However, the guys that seem to be most pleased, or should we say the least disappointed, are the ones that get into the final round of 6. But, Paul, there's certainly no question. If you don't advance out of this round, it changes everything about your approach to race day, and you don't even want to think in those terms when the session begins.
Yeah, it does put you in the back of the field. On the other hand, there is one good point to the fact that you're racing at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It is a wide-open racing circuit, and there are opportunities to pass. So if you're in the back, that's a place that you still can win from. And we're talking a couple of the guys out there, Zach, looks like they've come out on the red, the stickier tires right off.
Yeah, for sure. I think they're just trying to get, like we said before, this is the first time that they're getting on the reds for this weekend. So I think a lot of the guys are going out to see how their car's handling these sticker Firestone red tires, just to see if they need to make any adjustments, because we'll see. It'd be interesting to see if they go back out on the blacks. But once they advance into the Fast 6, everybody really has to have it dialed down on the best tires they got to put the ultimate time.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control of your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problem now by calling the experts at U.S. Tax Shield and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, so call now. 800-354-0143. That's 800-354-0143. U.S. Tax Shield. 800-354-0143.
If there's one thing Firestone's learned over its 100 years in racing, it's that if you don't keep moving forward, you're going to get left behind. So even though Firestone has more Indy 500 wins than any other tire on the planet, we're always more concerned with what we've done for you lately. That's why we're constantly trying to make our tires stronger, last longer, and handle better than ever. And we bring that same commitment to every tire we make, whether it's for the racetrack or for the open road. Whatever you drive a Firestone.
From the road course at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, this is the Advance Auto Parts Indycar Radio Network.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control of your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problem now by calling the experts at U.S. Tax Shield and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, so call now. 800-354-0143. That's 800-354-0143. U.S. Tax Shield. 800-354-0143.
From the Firestone broadcast booth at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, this is the Verizon IndyCar Series.
As this the first round of qualification underway, the first group, and we are now crossing the 1 minute to the end of the session. Here's the way it looks. The top six at this moment are Will Power, Juan Montoya, Luca Felipe, Sebastian Bourdais just moved around Felipe. Coletti is fifth, and right now Sebastian Saavedra, last year's pole setter, sits sixth. Hinchcliffe, J.R. Hildebrand, Graham Rahal, Ryan Hunter-Ray, they're all trying to get into this field.
Yeah, and Paul, interesting to note some of those that are on the outside looking in right now. James Hinchcliffe, Graham Rahal, who we figured would have a bit of momentum after the weekend at Barber. Ryan Hunter-Ray is currently P10, but again, you don't know what strategy is being employed, but I guess from a driver's perspective, Zach, 17 seconds left on the clock. If you're going to get into the top six, it's going to have to be on this lap.
Yeah, you're going to have to do it right now and try to push as hard as you can without making a mistake to get that time in. But we're already seeing the guys about a half a second quicker than they were in practice today.
We're now in the final 5 seconds of this run. That's when they'll see the checkered flag, but they can still run that checkered flag lap out, so we often see things change as they go through that day. And there you have it. We are at the checkered flag. The first group has had their 10 minutes. Here is the way they look starting this last lap. Things can change. Power, Montoya, Bourdais, Felipe, Coletti, and Saavedra. Those are the guys that, as they took the checkered flag, were running in the top six. Now we see what happens.
This is where you sit and wait, and if you're Will Power, or especially Sebastian Saavedra, setting on the kind of the bubble for this fast six in this group, you really hope nobody goes in front of you for sure.
If you're looking for classic styling, the ultimate in protection, and world-class customer service, then you are looking for Henchman. Henchman Racewear is the pioneer in driver suit technology, producing custom-made racing safety apparel for some of the biggest names in open-wheel racing. Henchman Stop by their store on Gasoline Alley Road. It's just 1 mile south of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Of course, you can find everything you need online at HinchmanRacewear.com.
From the road course at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, this is the Advance Auto Parts Indycar Radio Network.
Hi, I'm IndyCar driver Joseph Newgarden with a message from Outrun the Sun. Fill the Indianapolis Motor Speedway to capacity 12 times and you'll have the number of Americans diagnosed with skin cancer annually. Be sun smart. Visit outrunthesun.org.
A visit from an IndyCar driver can make a world of difference to a hospitalized child, taking a young patient's mind off painful treatments, giving them hope, and speeding their recovery. For 26 years, Racing for Kids has been bringing IndyCar drivers to the bedsides of sick children in hospitals across North America while raising more than $6 million for their care. Racing for Kids and IndyCar, working together to help sick children. Support Racing for Kids at racingforkids.org.
Hi, I'm IndyCar driver Joseph Newgarden with a message from Outrun the Sun. Fill the Indianapolis Motor Speedway to capacity 12 times and you'll have the number of Americans diagnosed with skin cancer annually. Be sun smart. Visit outrunthesun.org.
From the Firestone broadcast booth at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, this is the Verizon IndyCar Series.
So the first group of 6 who will advance to the Fast 12 is determined. It's Will Power, Juan Montoya, Sebastian Bourdais, Luca Felipe, Stefano Coletti, and Sebastian Saavedra. The guys that are going to start in the back right now are Hinchcliffe, Hildebrand, Ray Hall, Hunter Ray, Munoz, and Huertas. So we're waiting for the next session to come out.
Advance Auto Parts knows what makes a car guy a car guy. It's the courage to take on the greasiest of jobs, the guts to stare down the belly of the beast and replace a radiator. It's fearlessness, and it has no patience for dead batteries. That's why Advance Auto Parts offers free battery testing. And if you buy a new Autocraft battery, we'll even install it for free, so you can get back to your next big project. Advance Auto Parts, for guys who love getting under the hood.
Most vehicles, most locations. See store for details.
From the road course at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, this is the Advance Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network.
If there's one thing Firestone's learned over its 100 years in racing, it's that if you don't keep moving forward, you're going to get left behind. So even though Firestone has more Indy 500 wins than any other tire on the planet, we're always more concerned with what we've done for you lately. That's why we're constantly trying to make our tires stronger, last longer, and handle better than ever. And we bring that same commitment to every tire we make, whether it's for the racetrack or for the open road. Whatever you drive a Firestone.
Now you can bring back your favorite memories of the Indy 500 with the IMS Radio Network.
Here's the checkered flag for Jim Rathman, the winner of the 44th annual 500-mile race.
Little Al wins by just a few tenths of a second.
Go to IndianapolisMotorspeedway.com to purchase copies of classic Indy 500 broadcasts.
And Helio Castro Neves climbs the fence in the front straight.
Johnny Rutherford wins the 1980 Indianapolis 500.
IndianapolisMotorspeedway.com.
From the Firestone broadcast booth at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, this is the Verizon IndyCar Series.
So Group 1 in Round 1 has been determined. We know who the Fast 6 are. And Nick Yeoman, I think we're talking some very disappointed guys in the bottom half of that group.
Yeah, let's slide over here. We'll grab a quick word with Graham Rahal. Graham, great run at Barber. All this practice time over the last couple of days. Where on the racetrack are you missing it right now?
I don't know. You know, I mean, we go out there and the Chevys just turn it up and we don't have anything left, you know, and it's tough, man. I'm driving harder than I've ever driven before, and we can't seem to find any speed. It's just when it comes qualifying every weekend, the Chevys somehow have a little more when you come out, and to find 7/10, that's not going to happen, and it's pretty frustrating.
Certainly understandable. Greg Rakestraw, a frustrated driver down here in Graham Rahal.
Well, unfortunately, we weren't able to get the signal in from Craig during this. Obviously, what you're going to hear out of JR is his disappointment, but he's such a great time here, and that almost win to the Indy 500. That was spectacular for him. So, those people in group number 2, Elio Castroneves, Simon Pagno, Scott Dixon, Tony Kanaan, Charlie Kimball, Takuma Sato, Jack Hawksworth, Gabby Chavez, Joseph Newgarden, James Jakes, Marco Andretti, Justin Wilson, and Francesco Ducone. Now, right now, we have a minute and, actually just at 2 minutes complete already in this session.
Nick Yeoman, you're on pit road with another driver that's on the outside looking in.
Yeah, and it's another driver who was able to go to victory lane earlier this season at NOLA Motorsports Park, and that is James Hinchcliffe. Boy, Hinch, I just talked to Graham Rahal, and he was frustrated. Said, man, the Chevrolets, they turn it up and they find something. How frustrating is it for you to miss out in round 2?
Yeah, it's tough. The hardest thing for us is, with those Firestone Reds, it was first lap, so you kind of go out and you have to hang it all out there and kind of pray. And it's too bad. We had a decent first lap, to get into 7th there, but we found some time in one section of the racetrack on lap 2 and 3, but the rest of the lap, the grip just wasn't there. So, I think we had enough in it to advance out, but at the same time, and that's the game we're playing, one lap, one and done. We did the best we could.
All right, best of luck, James Hinchcliffe. He'll certainly go after him tomorrow, Paul Page, but he's going to have to come from deep in the field.
Already almost 3 minutes done in this 10-minute session. Here's the way they stack up at the top. Great and good surprise. Gabby Chavez in the 98 car is quick. He's a 110.9. That's not as quick as Will Power out of the first group, who had a 110.03. But it's Chavez, James Jakes, Elio Castroneves, Simon Pagno, Jack Hawksworth, and Charlie Kimball. Those are the top 6 at the moment. These guys in the bottom, again, we got some big names.
Yeah, for sure. We have those guys like Justin Wilson. He's coming back to do the Grand Prix this weekend with Andretti Autosport. So Scott Dixon, Tony Kanaan's down there as well. But, it is still early in the session. We have about 6 minutes to go. But you're going to have to start cranking it up and putting it down now.
How frustrating it is to be in a position of a Hinchcliffe or a Graham Rahal, and I don't want to say being saddled with Honda, but realizing that there is a disparity there. That's out of the team's control. That's out of the driver's control. It's just a reality.
It definitely has to be frustrating for them, but, I feel like it's one of those things, if you can't do much about it, you just got to make sure you want to be the fastest Honda. You want to be the fastest guy that's competing with the same as the others. But I think Honda's on their way of getting, things put back together to be able to compete with Chevy. It's just taking a little extra time.
Well, and as we've seen on ovals in the past, Zach, there was a horsepower advantage, a perception of a horsepower advantage on the part of Chevys. Honda's got better gas mileage in one races as a result.
Yeah, I really think Honda is outperforming the Chevy on the engine side of things. We just have to tweak a few things aero-wise, and it'll be back to the level playing field it was before.
The clock continues to tick, Paul Page.
Well, and now we're beginning to see some tire changing down there as well. For instance, Simon Pagno, who went out on the Blackwall tires, has now come into the Penske pit, and it looks like they're thinking about, if not actually, putting on the red tires, the theoretically faster tires. And if we don't see that many of them right now, we're sure going to see a lot of them here in a couple of minutes. We now have just over 5 minutes to go in the session.
But it's interesting for me. I haven't got to do any of the knockout qualifying yet, but it just has to be stressful, knowing you only have 10 minutes to go for it. That's the nice thing we talked about in Indy Lights. Those guys had 45 minutes to kind of go through their sets of tires, make changes for the car to make it fast. This has to really come down to crunch time, and that's why they're the professionals.
Let's go down to Nick.
Paul, you mentioned the drivers coming down pit lanes to change tires. That's Elio Castroneves and Scott Dixon you hear go by. They're going to go on to the Reds. Joseph Newgarden is going to slide in. He's going to go to a fresh set of Reds. And here comes Tony Kanaan. So all of the heavy hitters, some of these really, really fast Chevrolet drivers, going to put on a fresh set of sticker Reds. And then as James Hinchcliffe talked about, Paul, as soon as these guys leave pit lane, we want to watch that first lap because it appears that is the money spot for these Firestone tires this weekend.
We are now at 4 minutes and 12 seconds to the end of this 10-minute session. Here's the way it looks at the top. Newgarden, Gabby Chavez, Elio Castroneves, James Jakes, Scott Dixon, and Simon Pagno, last year's winner. Below that, though, Tony Kanaan, Charlie Kimball, Jack Hawksworth, Justin Wilson, Takuma Sato, Francesco Draconi, and slowest out of the session at this moment is Marco Andretti. That's a huge surprise.
It is a big surprise, and clearly there's an issue there that they haven't been able to get dialed in throughout the course of the weekend. Andretti seems to be struggling a little bit as a whole, and again, the thing about this qualifying format, especially on road and street courses, Paul, I know there are opportunities to pass, and you do have some chances. And if you see a well-timed caution, Zach, like we saw at Barber, anything can happen for you. We saw it with James Hinchcliffe when he got his win at NOLA. He did it on one stop. Bottom line is, though, nobody wants to start back there, have to think in those terms, and besides that, if something bad happens, it usually happens in the rear of the field.
That's the beautiful thing we have in the Verizon IndyCar Series here. Anything can happen. You've seen Scott Dixon come from last to win at Mid-Ohio last year. It's just one of those things that you don't know how the race is going to unfold, but the only bad thing about starting in the back, you can pass here, so that's nice, but if something happens, you don't want to be put in a bad situation that ruins your race and you have no control over it.
With 2 minutes and 45 seconds left to go, Pagano just got pushed out of the field by Scott Dixon. It's right now Hawksworth, Newgarden, Chavez, Castroneves, Jakes, and Dixon, the top six. Pagano and Tony Kanaan are right behind them trying to get in the field at 7th and 8th.
It's really cool, though, to see, Jack Hawksworth and Gabby Chavez, and they're kind of leading the session right now. Hopefully they can continue being the guys that we've raced with in Indy Lights, just showing another good example how, the ladder series, Mazda Road to Indy, is really teaching us young guys how to compete at the highest level here in the Verizon IndyCar Series.
I think, Mark James, you brought up a really good point, and that was that starting in the front is great. Starting in the back, the problem is what happens in front of you, especially in turn one.
I mean, look at some of the guys that are on the outside looking in right now. Simon Pagano, Takuma Sato, Tony Kanaan is another one on the outside looking in. I know he's not been in a car throughout most of this year, but Justin Wilson, and as you mentioned, Marco Andretti right now would start 25th in the race tomorrow. And then you go back to the group that just completed, James Hinchcliffe, Graham Rahal, Ryan Hunter-Ray, and it's not that those teams don't get it or aren't getting it, Zach. I think it speaks to the incredibly competitive paddock that we have here in this series.
I agree with you completely there, Mark. It's just sometimes if you miss your day by the smallest amount, it's huge. And when a field is covered by, within a second to second and a half to two, one little mistake really makes volume when it comes to track position.
So now 1 minute and 10 seconds to go. The order has changed once again. It is now Dixon. Pagano moved out of that bottom six, actually bottom seven here, and moved up to second place. He's followed by Castroneves, Hawksworth. Kanaan made it into the top six. So did Charlie Kimball. That's pushed out guys like Chavez and Newgarden. Other names down at the bottom, we've already mentioned Marco and Takuma Sato, who have sat on the pole a number of times as well at different races.
The 25, a little dust up between that machine and the 14 machine of Takuma Sato is getting a look-see by the folks at Race Control. 25, of course, driven by Justin Wilson. So Wilson and Sato with an issue out on course. Race Control taking a look-see at.
And, of course, if it goes bad for you, away goes your fastest, or depending on the infraction, your fastest 2 laps. So that's not very helpful either. 21 seconds to go right now. We are in the last seconds of this session. Again, we keep an eye, even though they cross the line with a checkered flag, we got to make sure that everybody has crossed the final timing line and is off the course. So we will be very careful to watch that as well. Now we're down with 6 seconds. 5, 4. It's like a rocket countdown. 2, 1. And there it is. The checkered flag comes out. The session is complete. At the moment, Dixon, Castroneves, Pagano, Kanaan, Hawksworth, and Newgarden are the top 6. We wait for everybody to clear the final timing line to see what they have been able to do on the last run that came after the checkered flag. So we're waiting and watching as they circle. There's still quite a few guys out there. And that's just the other thing I think we mentioned earlier. It makes it pretty exciting because even though you think, I got the checker. May not be right there. And that flag's actually located way over on the backside of this race course.
And that's the frustrating thing, too, as I said before, because you can come across the timing line, the front straight, and your crew is saying, hey, you're P1, or, you just made it into the Fast 6 for this round, and by the time you get to pit lane, something can be completely different. So you just got to keep your eyes up and, just stay there till the end.
Everybody has now crossed that timing line. Here's the top 6. Dixon, Castroneves, Pagano, Tony Kanaan, Jack Hawksworth, and Joseph Newgarden. That leaves out Kimball, Chavez, Wilson, James Jakes, Sato, Andretti, and Dracone.
What's it like to drive an Indy car at the famed Indianapolis Motor Speedway? Now the Indy Racing Experience can put you in the driver's seat. That's right, you can drive an Indy car at the world's greatest race course. Packages start at under $500. But hurry, sessions are selling out fast. Call 888-357-5002 or go online to IndyRacingExperience.com. You driving a real Indy car. Call 888-357-5002 now.
From the road course at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, this is the Advance Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control of your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problem now by calling the experts at U.S. Tax Shield and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, so call now. 800-354-0143. That's 800-354-0143. U.S. Tax Shield. 800-354-0143.
From the Firestone broadcast booth at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, this is the Verizon IndyCar Series.
So the group that will move into the Fast 12 is now determined, and we move to round 2 of qualifying. But let's find out about the opinions of some of the guys. Let's start with Greg.
Justin Wilson joining us now. Justin, do you feel you got the most out of the car out there in that 10-minute session?
Yeah, I did. We went out on blacks for the first run, and I was so loose. I thought, okay, we've overshot this, and we seem to be one side of the balance or the other and can't find that sweet spot in the middle. But, you know, when we put the Firestone Reds on, they brought the balance to life. We could actually start to roll some speed to the corners and feel some grip. So it was good. You know, I just wish it could be a fraction quicker. It's, you know, we're pushing, we're trying hard. We've been behind all weekend, but we're trying to catch up.
I know it looks like you and Takuma had a bit of an issue out there briefly.
Yeah, I come out the pits behind Dracone, and I knew that there was another car coming. It was about 5 seconds back, and I kept looking in my mirror, and as I got to the apex of turn 7, I think it was, I could see him catching up. So I immediately jumped out the way off the racing line to try and let him go through. So I hope I didn't get in his way, but you know, it's really tough to see anything behind you with all the extra bodywork on here. You know, the mirrors are kind of pointless.
I know the Hondas have struggled in qualifying, but do you think you'll have something more come race time tomorrow?
I've been really happy with our tire life. I mean, most of the time throughout this weekend, we've done our quickest lap on our second, third stint on tires. You know, so we come in, or we go out on a new set of stickers and go slower, and like the second run or the third run, we set our quickest lap. So I'm hoping that that's going to continue into race day and play in our favor, and we'll have a good, consistent car.
Justin, thanks for the time as always. Nick Yeoman.
All right, Charlie Kimball misses out on advancing into the second round as well. I know we've only raced once here before on this road course configuration, but where does this racetrack rank in terms of places where you're able to race up through the field?
Well, I think it's pretty good. It's got a couple of nice long straights and some good hard braking areas for overtaking. Well, it'll be interesting to see what the aero kits do. I got a lot of confidence in the Chevy guys. It's pretty obvious they're pretty solid at the moment. So I think we should be in okay shape tomorrow. We'll just have to see. We missed out a little bit in qualifying today and figure out where we need that 10th or 2 for tomorrow.
All right, that's Charlie Kimball. He'll have an opportunity to try to race to the front tomorrow when we go green, Paul.
And when we go green with the next group, which is the Fast 12, here's the guys who are in it. Will Power, Juan Montoya, Sebastian Bourdais, Luca Felipe, Stefano Coletti, Sebastian Saavedra, Scott Dixon, Elio Castroneves, Simon Pagno, Tony Kanaan, Jack Hawksworth, and Joseph Newgarden.
If you're looking for classic styling, the ultimate in protection, and world-class customer service, then you are looking for Henchman. Henchman Racewear is the pioneer in driver suit technology, producing custom-made racing safety apparel for some of the biggest names in open-wheel racing. Henchman, stop by their store on Gasoline Alley Road. It's just 1 mile south of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Of course, you can find everything you need online at henchmanracewear.com.
From the road course at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, this is the Advance Auto Parts Indycar Radio Network.
The Indianapolis Motor Speedway invites you to help celebrate over 100 years of tradition by purchasing a customizable brick to be installed on the grounds of the famed Brickyard. Engraved with your name, company, or special message, your brick will preserve a lifetime of IMS memories. Hurry, a limited number of bricks are available. Specialty packages, including a replica brick and display case, are also available. Make your next visit permanent with a commemorative brick installed on these hallowed grounds. Visit IndianapolisMotorSpeedway.com/brick program or call 1-877-493-4IMS to reserve your brick today.
Now you can bring back your favorite memories of the Indy 500 with the IMS Radio Network.
Here's the checkered flag for Jim Rathman, the winner of the 44th annual 500-mile race.
Little Al Wynn is there, and they've lifted the car up and are putting a diaper, a catch blanket underneath it, which usually means that there's something dropping off the car, and now they're carefully moving it down the pits. But at this moment, Nick Yeoman is going to take a look at that. Mark?
Taking a look at, I guess, the stats beyond the obvious stats. Starting grid for Andretti Autosports for the Angie's List Grand Prix of Indy. 18th, 19th, 21st, and 24th. A lot of work to do between now and the time the green flag flies for that race team.
It's going to be a long night for some people, and they only have the warm-up in the morning.
Exactly. It's going to be definitely one of those nights where you're just trying to figure out what else you can change at this point with the amount of track time that we've had so far. To have the cars outside of the window by now really shows kind of some of the confusion that some of these guys have. But I don't know. Sometimes when you're in crunch time and you have this extra stress, that's when you make your great calls. So they might hit it right in the warm-up and go racing and have a great day.
How about Gabby Chavez? Let's go down to Greg.
Gabby, just kind of walk us through that 10-minute session for you and the team.
Yeah, really. I mean, it was almost like another practice sessions for us. You know, we're obviously it's a one-car team. It takes us a little bit of longer time to go through the changes and all that. But but the team did a great job. We made some really good gains, and we're just one step closer, about a tenth and a half behind the fastest Honda. So really, I think we should be pleased with our efforts and just keep our heads down, keep working at it.
You're going to be starting about mid-pack. What does that mean for you at the start of tomorrow's race?
It just means we're going to have to get through a lot of cars.
Best of luck to you, Gabby.
Thank you.
Paul?
Of course, comes out of the Indy Lights as a champion and had some great runs. You called him last year for Gabby Chavez, Mark.
Yeah, and he went into the season with the sole purpose of winning a championship after he had lost it the year before, sitting next to a guy that had the fortune or misfortune of trying to chase him down the last couple of years. And I think what it boils down to more than anything else, Zach, the difference between him and the rest of the field, even Jack Harvey when it went to the tiebreaker, Gabby Chavez was just very, very consistent.
No, and that's the thing. It comes down to these Indy Lights championships because last year between Gabby Chavez, Jack Harvey, and myself, we completed basically every lap of every race because that's what you had to do to win the championship. Between us three, I think it was like a 90-point separation between third and fourth in the championship. So it was definitely very fun running with these guys, and I'm glad to see Gabby doing well in Verizon IndyCar.
Nick, you've gotten down to the coin pits. What's going on down there?
Yeah, it was Carlos Huertas' automobile, as you mentioned, that was being picked up and lifted off the racetrack with a blanket underneath it to try to catch it. It was certainly motor oil that they said pooled on the under tray of that car. I spoke to Dale Coyne, and he said, yeah, we don't have a clue. Obviously some sort of engine issue, but that's the first time that I've ever seen one of those blankets brought out for a car that completed a qualifying session and was sitting on pit lane. So certainly I think it's going to take some overnight effort by the Dale Coyne crew to look in and find out exactly what happened with that race car. But yeah, there was quite a bit of oil that car had laid down here, down on pit lane. So that car will be hauled back to Gasoline Alley, and they'll try to figure it out overnight, Paul.
Thank you very much. Mark, those units, the engines, they're sealed units.
Right.
Only the engineer for that particular engine can actually get into it. What then becomes, do you think, the rule if there's damage to that engine and not just a leak?
Well, I think it's pretty clear from the standpoint that there's a mileage limit, Zach, and if that engine from a driver's perspective, and if that engine lets go, it has to be switched, and I think that's why we see, Paul, from time to time these. And Nick, you can add to it too. That's where we get the notices on these infractions and these penalties assessed against these manufacturers.
Yeah, and remember, they used to have a penalty where it'd be a 10-spot grid penalty if you had to change that engine. I think the only thing that'll really happen realistically is if that engine wasn't deemed that it had reached that miles limit, that they could lose points in the manufacturer's battle. But I don't think Dale Coyne's team will receive any type of penalty if they have to change that engine. But again, this time of year is about when we've reached that miles limit 4 races in. So I don't think there should be any type of penalty, but they will certainly have to look over that engine and probably change it overnight.
Well, the first times are coming in now for the competitors in the Fast 12. Again, 6 will move forward. Right now, it's Felipe, Castroneves, Coletti, Power, Canan, and Pagano that are sitting in the top 6 positions. But Pagano just got pushed off by Jack Hosworth. The thing that I find very interesting is Coletti seems to be fast, not only here, but he's been fast everywhere he's gone.
Well, that's one of those things. You just start building up that momentum, and this might be the weekend where he really shines, that he's done everything right to this point. It's to the point where it's come together, and you could have one of those weekends that really sets the tone for the rest of the season.
So, again, the plan here is there are 12 on the course. 6 will move forward, and then we will have an idea of who's going to sit on the pole, and that's when you think it's tense now. It gets a little more tense then. Greg?
Guys, it didn't take long for our first team to lay out tires for a change to get some fresh rubber on the road here in this Fast 12 session. Already the Century 21 team, Joseph Newgarden's crew, waiting with red sticker tires. He'll be in shortly, and again, trying to push that hot lap on that first lap on those sticker reds. Those Firestone Flyhawks coming in just a matter of moments.
Isn't it amazing how thin that window is? You get those tires on, you got to do it right then the way it works right now.
It's very difficult. And there's some places like Sonoma as well where we'll actually leave the pits and take it easy until we get to the start-finish line so we can get the most out of a lap on a set of tires.
Well, and since we were talking about him, Newgarden just had not an off, but he slowed down, used the runoff area, and no harm, no foul. Same thing with Felipe. He really cooked the brakes, comes over on the other side of the curb, cut some of the grass.
We're starting to see some lockups on the brake zones here, so these guys are really starting to push everywhere they can and trying to get into this Fast 6.
If they want to get into that Fast 6, they have 5 minutes and 30 seconds to do so, the clock counting. And it's relentless. I mean, once that clock starts, you're in trouble, babe.
Pretty consistent in terms of the trouble spots, Zach, at the end of that back straightaway and at the end of the long main straightaway. Those braking zones are very unforgiving.
And I mentioned it in the Indy Lights broadcast as well, but these guys are in the same situation. With the straightaways so long here, we're running very low downforce, so that takes away a lot of your grip, a lot of your braking ability, so it makes it very easy to lock these tires as you're really trying to push into the entries.
And right at 5 minutes to go in this session, Will Power, who has been fairly quick throughout the practice, and this session comes in. He is on black sidewalls. He will go to the reds. We also saw in the pits Luca Felipe. He made that change. We're assuming everybody's making that change right now.
Yeah, for sure. I think we see everybody in getting set to go back out because we got 4 minutes, 40 seconds. So these guys are going to be pushing over the next few minutes.
The top 6, Dixon, Castroneves, Pagano, Power, Felipe, and Tony Kanaan. Coletti got pushed out of the top 6. So did Sebastian Saavedra, last year's pole sitter, as well as Hawksworth, Newgarden. Sebastian Bourdais is well out of the top 6. He is 11th quick right now, and Montoya is 12th quick right now. And they're only going to take 6 when this thing is over. So it's gotten very, very tight, and there are some real surprises here right now. 4 minutes left in this session, and then we move to the Fast 6.
And like we said before, with the names that we have that are in the Fast 6 and the names that are not in the Fast 6, it really goes to show the competition level that we have here, because it's not so much someone dominates pretty much every weekend. It's a new page, every new track that we go to, and everybody is so close on talent level that it really comes down to the minor details to get these extra tenths that we have.
That's Zach Veach, who is in the booth with us, and we will have in the booth with us when we go racing tomorrow. Mark James is also here in the booth as we move now with 3.5 minutes to go. Mark, what do you think?
Well, I don't know. It's not possible to predict it. I just some of the names that you see right now on the outside looking in, a bit of a surprise. I think Newgarden and Bourdais are a couple of guys that you expected to be among the final six, but it just seems like every session, you're going to see a Penske, you're going to see a Ganassi, most notably Scott Dixon. Elio's always there, and Power's there. TK, I think, again, quietly puts together the type of season that puts him in contention, I think, for a championship. But, Zach, there's always one guy, that final bonsai run at the end of this session, that always pops into that final six. It seems to be a bit of a surprise.
Exactly, and the guys that are in the Fast Six right now are hoping that the guy that throws in the bonsai lap's already in the six, so they're not getting bumped out. So very stressful for these guys, but hey, I mean, this is Indianapolis. They're going to take it just as serious as they do for the 500-mile race. Everybody wants to win here.
There's a theory in stick and ball sports that, especially when it comes to championships, would you rather be blown out or would you rather get beat by one on a last-second shot or a last-second touchdown? So from a driver's perspective, if you're, for instance, Stefano Coletti, and this holds up, and you are seventh, would you rather be, if you can't get into the top six, do you feel worse if you're seventh, or are you better off if you're 11th or 12th?
I say you feel worse if you're right on the outside looking in there. And I always rather be the guy that's pushing on the last lap to get in there and setting that fast time than just sitting there waiting, hoping that you made it. So, I mean, it's going to be, we see Will Power. He's in seventh quick right now, so he's kind of looking in, but he jumps back up now. So it's just one of those things. You got to really just push and put together that perfect lap because everybody here is doing the same.
Juan Montoya took a long time before he decided to come out. He took a slow lap, and then he really cooked one off, and Montoya moved from the bottom of the field, 12th position, and now is up in fourth. It's Pagano, Dixon, Kanaan, Montoya, Felipe Hawksworth. Those are the top six, except just as we speak, Sebastian Saavedra moves around Hawksworth, and he is in the sixth position. Hawksworth is trying to get in. Castro Neves, Pagano, Dixon, Kanaan, Montoya. That's the top six right now. It's changing constantly, and we have just 1 minute to go in this session.
Ganassi and Penske.
Yeah.
6 spots, Zach.
Well, as of right now, too, we're only about 2/10 off the track record, so I think we're going to be seeing that get broke as we get into the Fast Six.
Still, as we mentioned, Paul, you don't want to be on the outside looking, and you feel bad if you're 7th or 8th, but let's face it, Felipe and Coletti, Hawksworth, and Saavedra, they have to be pretty pleased all in all.
Oh, for sure. I mean, for Sebastian coming in here, he did Long Beach, now he's getting to do the Indy Grand Prix. I think he's really making a statement that, he wants to be back in the car, and he deserves to be, and, I think these guys just have to make the best of the situation that they're given. And hey, I mean, starting in the top 12 is better than starting in the bottom half of the 12. So, I mean, I think that you just got to be happy with what you have if you can't be in the Fast Six.
14 seconds left to go now. Pagano, Power, Castro Neves, Kanaan, Montoya, and Sebastian Bourdais. Scott Dixon is the guy knocking on the door in 7th place. He's followed by Sebastian Saavedra. And the checkered flag comes out. The session is now complete. We let them run out the entire lap after they take the checker, and so we're going to wait just a moment or two and see whether or not that changes. But Zach Beach was actually correct there. 1:09.64. That is the quickest of the day that we've seen.
That is the track record.
There
now.
we go. New track record. That breaks Simon Pagano's record.
I can't.
Why am I locking down? That breaks the track record.
I can't
of
tell
last
you it's
year.
been broken by 0.03 of a second. So hopefully, we'll see that continue to go down as we get into the Fast Six. But I don't know. We've been seeing that. That's been the pattern all year. That each track that we go to, we've been breaking the track record, and it's going to be really exciting when we get to say that one day we break it here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the oval. So it's an exciting time for IndyCar.
So Simon Pagano's track record has been broken. The new track record is 1:09.643. Boy, they measure it out to the end, and they need to with these cars anymore, don't they? Still waiting for the last car to pass the line in the session that now sets us up for the Fast Six, sets us up for the pole run, sets us up for the front row of this field at the world's greatest race course, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's high overcast over the track. Sun is usually a critical element. There is no sun bearing down on the track right now, so that's probably the good news. And how about this? We now have the last car passing over the line, and it changed the top of the order. Will Power, number 1, track record. Simon Pagenaud, Elio Castroneves, Tony Kanaan, Juan Montoya, and Scott Dixon. The guy who got eclipsed right at the last was Sebastian Bourdais.
If there's one thing Firestone's learned over its 100 years in racing, it's that if you don't keep moving forward, you're going to get left behind. So even though Firestone has more Indy 500 wins than any other tire on the planet, we're always more concerned with what we've done for you lately. That's why we're constantly trying to make our tires stronger, last longer, and handle better than ever. And we bring that
Power, Pagenaud, Castroneves, Kanaan, Montoya, Dixon. Those are the Fast Six. Let's see what's going on in the pits. We start with Nick.
Let's catch up with Stefano Coletti. I know this start to this season's been a learning experience, and there's been a lot of bumps on the road, but to get out of round 1, starting 10th tomorrow, I would assume this has to feel like a pretty big bright spot.
Well, it's a lot better than what we did till now. I mean, we finally made it through, and we went to 10th today. I think it's a good result. I mean, we were hoping for a little bit better. I thought we could do like 7th or 8th. But in the end, it's 10th, and I can do a proper race finally and not having to run from the back and go forward, And so we're looking forward tomorrow, and we still need to do some little things on the car to make it a bit quicker, but I'm sure we're getting there.
Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
That is Stefano Coletti. Let's go a little bit further down pit road and check in with Greg Rakestraw.
Luca Filippi with us now. You're going to have a first 5-row start in tomorrow's race. That good enough for you and the team?
It's okay. Obviously, we always want for more. But today I think we made a good improvement, and we're up there where we want to be. We maybe needed a couple of extra 10 in performance, but our strength is the consistency. So I'm looking forward for tomorrow.
You've got 2 teammates to work off here in this month of May. How much of a help can that be to a young driver like yourself?
No, yeah, it is. It is an help, and it's also nice to have such a high-level teammate as Joseph and JR are, and for them it's also great to have a strong lineup for the 500 with Ed. So I think we're looking good, and we can just improve from where we are.
Luca, best of luck tomorrow afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Paul?
Well, I think it is safe to say now, since he is 3rd in the Fast Six, Elio Castroneves, who has 299 starts, is about to make a 300 start. That's pretty amazing.
What's it like to drive an Indycar at the famed Indianapolis Motor Speedway?
What should have been the quickest lap on the first lap, and after that, you just got a really sweet spot on the tires, and you just got to nail it, and I didn't.
Overall, though, starting in row number 4, how does that play out for you tomorrow afternoon?
Plays out like it's getting a bad habit. Unfortunately, we're close, but we just can't seem to be able to. Go and beat these Penske boys in qualifying. In the race, we're very strong, and we showed that, this morning again. The car is really strong in blacks, but we just don't seem to be able to match them on reds, and might be a bit of me in there, but regardless, I just got to find something.
All right, best of luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Sebastian Bourdais, fellas.
All right, here we go. They have already started. The green flag has flown. 45 seconds is already gone as the guys in the Fast Six take to the racetrack once again. Here's where we all try and embarrass ourselves. Mark James, what do you think is going to come out of this? You want to name pole sitter?
I think it's the guy with the fastest lap, Paul.
Well said. Zach,
I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's the guy with the fastest lap. That's Scott Dixon. I'm going to say Scott Dixon.
That's a pretty hard one to come up against. But if I have to say, I'm probably going to go with Dixon or Power on this one.
I'm going to say Jigger Soroy. If you don't know that story, you need to look it up. He could have been the pole sitter here and didn't pull it off. It's a great story. So they made the first pass down, so they are on the first timed lap right now, and they are spaced pretty evenly as they come down the front straightaway toward that first turn, which is a right-hander. It's a bit of a sweeper, but still you've got to really slow it down because you're going so fast down the front straightaway. And kind of get a look from Scott Dixon's up on the video right now, the onboard camera looking there. Zach, what do you see as you see him drive around? You learning anything?
Oh, yeah, I'm learning every second up here watching these guys. But, he's aggressive right now, definitely pushing hard to get that lap, to get that pole, and hopefully make my bet with you guys last. But, I think, like we said before, this is when everybody's going to get serious. We see Castroneves, he goes through the runoff in turn 1, just heavy on the brake zone there. It's just one of those things. I mean, this is, if you're going to flat spot a set of tires, if you're going to push too hard, now's the time to do it because this is when it matters.
So Elio Castroneves, boy, he really pitched the back end of the car, and then he caught it back. He was already on reds, so he loses that lap. He's going to try to get back into the flow of things, but we're talking 7 minutes and 30 seconds left to go. There's the tension. There's the pressure.
And I think as we see him run straight into pit lane here, the fear is he might have flat spot that set of tires, so he might be coming in to get a fresh set. That way he does have a real chance to run for the pole here.
Well, the way he locked him up, it looked like we probably are talking flat spots on that thing. And so what? What difference does that make?
Oh, no. I mean, it depends how bad the flat spot is, but the whole car just starts to vibrate. It'll get to your vision, it gets to your hands, and it'll affect the front grip as well. So if you have the flat spot on the right front tire, any left-hand corner that you do, when you really need that right front to support the grip, it'll just, cause a lot of understeer. So for ultimate lap time, flat spot's the worst thing you can have sometimes.
3 of the guys are on the clock now. The top 3 then are Will Power, Scott Dixon, and Elio Castroneves. We're waiting for times out of Montoya, Kanaan, and Simon Pagenaud. What's the strategy there, the wait?
For me, I'm not really exactly sure because I haven't been in this situation before, but I think it goes down to the tire game as well. If we're only getting 2 laps out of your prime Firestone red tires, they might just be waiting until we only have about 3 or 4 minutes to go out, set that time, so there's not a lot of extra time for these guys to chase it back down.
But, Mark James, we have this year already seen that strategy has nipped a few people pretty hard.
Oh, yeah, there's no question. And that's the gamble, as we've talked about before, when it comes to qualifying strategy. I still maintain, Zach, one of the toughest calls from an engineer and a driver's perspective is when you have the car dialed in and then all of a sudden you think we can make it go a little faster and you end up going the wrong way.
And I think the hard thing is going to be, too, if that is your engineer strategy and your strategy of sitting in pit lane waiting until there's 3 minutes left and then they're saying, okay, fire up, go, this is your chance, because you got to put it all together perfect right then.
There are 5 minutes and 35 seconds left to go. We pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Advance Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network. Still waiting for 3 cars to go out and set a time. Right now, Will Power, Scott Dixon, Elio Castroneves are the top 3. That, of course, would give the pole to Will Power, should it end that way. But here's the other thing to point out. We're not talking representative times, perhaps with the exception of Power. Dixon's at a 1:11. Castroneves is at a 1:20. So that's just feeling out.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not even really pushing yet because, we see those guys. I mean, with Power, he already bested his track record that he set in the previous session, right? So,
exactly.
He's the one that's on it, but the other guys, I think they're still just waiting for their shot to really kind of show what kind of car they have here in qualifying.
Nick Yeoman, what are you seeing?
And a couple guys on alternating strategies, and that's teammates. Tony Kanaan just fired up that NTT Data Chevrolet. He's going back onto the racetrack. As for Scott Dixon, he just brought that target number 9 to pit lane, and it looks like they are going to go to one of those used set of reds. He started out this session just getting some heat in that engine with the primary blacks, and he's going to go to a set of the scuffed reds. So alternating strategies, we anticipate Scott Dixon to fire that engine and rejoin the action shortly, Paul.
Well, Mark, if they're going to change that strategy, it's got about 4 minutes to do it. Greg?
Joseph Newgarden standing by. He was part of the Fast 12 but didn't advance to the Fast 6 overall. Joseph, do you feel you got the most out of your car in this qualifying session?
We did an okay job to do what we could. I mean, top 12 for us was all right. We just haven't really been there all weekend, so got to try and figure out a little bit more for the race and hopefully get some good points, but we're a little back right now.
Sometimes when you're further back in the field, it kind of dictates the strategy you have to have. Being somewhere in the middle, what's the strategy going to be for you and your team come race time tomorrow?
I think it's all about points for us tomorrow. We don't seem to have the pace of a top 6 car, but IndyCar, anything can happen. I feel confident in our abilities to figure things out tonight, and then we'll apply it for tomorrow, and I'm sure we'll be a bit better. It's just a matter of how much better we'll be.
Thanks for the time. Best of luck.
All right, thanks.
Paul?
Juan Montoya just completed a warm-up, and he is on his first timed lap, but there are 3 minutes and 5 seconds left to go. I'm feeling the tension up here. I mean, my heart's beating with this. I can imagine what it's like down in the pits. and more importantly, in the cockpit.
Oh, it's got to be very tough. I mean, it's 2 minutes, 54 seconds. Every second counts, because if you catch the checker just right at the right time, you can get your in lap, or if you just beat it by the nick of time, you're going to get an extra lap as well. So these guys just got to be pushing as hard as they can to try to make up the time and be right there when it counts, because they can set it now and still be the fastest, and that can come and be beaten here in a few.
So, Mr. Driver, how interesting is the debrief when you get together after a session like this and you've got 4 teammates and 2 teammates?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if you have a lot more teammates, of course, there's going to be a lot more information discussed, especially if you're all in the Fast Six, because you're going to really just build upon as a team. But, if you have the 2, I mean, same thing, a lot of information sharing, but you guys definitely you're always competing, so whoever's the fastest is going to be a little more proud.
Is that a tough dynamic, Zach? When you're out on the course, you want to beat your teammate, just like you do every other driver. But by the same token, when you get out of that car, it comes time to share that information. You have to switch modes almost, don't you?
Exactly. I mean, on the track, you have to be a little defensive with your teammate. The run rule is never to take out your teammate, because that's a long discussion with your team owner. But once you get back to the pits and your trailer, you need to understand that you both are there for each other, because if your teammate's fast, you're going to be fast. And you got to work together to beat, the bigger teams as well. So, I mean, it really comes down to just being comfortable with each other.
Minute and a half to go in the session. Tony Kanaan, his first quick lap was a 1:09.8. That's almost 0.3 of a second off of Will Power, who is number 1 at this moment. Pagano just moved into second, dropped Kanaan down, then Scott Dixon, then Montoya, who's getting time. In fact, everybody is now beginning to show times, and Helio Castroneves is currently 6th.
Yeah, it's always interesting the last 2 minutes of the session, Paul. It's almost not worth our efforts to list exactly where they are 1 through 6, because I can't remember a time that we haven't set 1 through 6 and that all of a sudden we didn't have a jumble here and there, especially in this final round. And Zach, let's face it, whatever you have done in terms of tire strategy and whatever you've done to create balance with that race car, it's put up or shut up time in this last 2 minutes.
This is all down to the guy in the seat right now. I mean, there's nothing really you can change except the tools that you have at your hands, your driving style to try to make up for the little bit that you might be losing. I mean, the teams have done all they can. You got your tires that are going to run you to the end here. You just got to make the best of what you have.
We're coming now with 15 seconds to go to the end of this run. Power is still tops. The tops of 5 of the 6 are all in the 1:09 second bracket. Tony Kanaan is kind of out there in 1:10.5. 2 seconds, 1 second. We're looking for the checker. There it is. The session is complete. We let it run out once again. We've seen changes. We just saw it today in the last run-out lap to the actual timing line over on the other side of the race course. But at this moment, at least, it stands Will Power number 1, Scott Dixon, Helio Castroneves. Juan Montoya made it up to 4th. Simon Pagano, defending champion, is 5th, and Tony Kanaan is 6th. We'll see, Mark James, if that's going to change now.
Will Power, if this holds up, this will be his 38th pole in 144 starts. That's pretty impressive.
Those are big stats, as well as, the 2 that I picked going for the pole are 1 and 2 right now. So do I get extra points?
Well, blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then, my friend.
So you're still in my lines now, too.
Yeah, I had P2, so, I picked Dixon to win the pole. I don't see Jigger Soroy on there anywhere, Paul. We're sorry to report that perhaps you missed the target a little bit.
I'm telling you, it's a great story, though.
I know it is.
And he missed the target, too. We'll tell that story a little bit later. Still waiting for the final car to come off the course, and everybody now has the checker. Here is the lineup. It is Will Power on the pole, followed by Scott Dixon. The second row will be Castroneves and Juan Montoya. The third row, Simon Pagano and Tony Kanaan.
Advance Auto Parts knows what makes a car guy a car guy. It's the commitment to maintain an engine through the 300,000-mile mark. It's burning the midnight oil to finish a job most guys would rather hand off. It's loyalty, and it's why there's speed perks from Advance Auto Parts.